Get started, and we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So everybody, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, everyone. As we go through our meeting tonight, please remember as we go to vote and all we listen to about our mission and vision statements as we go through that. Call to order. Let's see, roll call. We do have a quorum. Hearing of delegations, we have none. We just need a motion to approve the agenda, and there's no changes, correct?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. We got communications to board next, and today we have a sea of blue, which is always one of my best nights to listen to all about the FFA convention that they recently went to. So we'll invite Mrs. Becker up to start the.
Good morning, good evening, and we thank you for the time allowing us to come in and talk about our trip to Indianapolis. We left on Tuesday, October 22nd, a day ahead of time that allowed us to get out in time to get ready for the next day, which was a busy day. On Wednesday, we toured a couple places, Beck's Hybrids and Beasley's Orchard, and then while we were doing some of that, I had a team competing in the forestry contest, so I'll turn the rest of it over to them and I'll wrap this up, so come on up.
Hi, my name is Walker Eilerts, and I'm a sophomore.
And my name is Harold Reynolds. I'm a sophomore, and I'm also the Sentinel.
Today we're going to talk about Beck's Hybrid Seed, where we toured on Wednesday, our second day of the trip. To begin with, Lawrence Beck was the founder of Beck's Seed Company. It was founded in 1937, and Lawrence died 1 year later in 1938 after he founded it. And it is now the third largest seed company in the world.
Beck's was first located in Atlanta, Indiana, and since has grown to many different locations around the United States. We got to tour some of the stuff in Beck's, and they had a pretty cool fully automatic seeding or bag seeder, and it basically helped them load seed faster and helped improve how fast they get seed out when farmers need it. That's it. Thank you.
I'm Hannah Perez, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Grady Ruger, and I'm a freshman. So Beasley's Orchard we went to on Wednesday, second day of the trip. It was started by Milton and Irene Beasley. We started as an 80-acre farm with livestock, and it has now grown to over 250 acres with fresh produce and corn. And people can come out and pick their own fruits and vegetables, and they have different activities that you can do.
In 2002, there was a corn maze that was added, and they grow a lot of fresh produce like strawberries, sweet corn, watermelon, cantaloupe, and a bunch more. And the farm has been used for hay storage, dairying, pork and poultry production, horses, and now retail with an apple packing facility and a cider mill.
My name is Grant Kramer, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm a student, I'm a senior, and I'm the president.
The forestry contest is split into teams and individual events, and each individual event was 30 minutes, and the team one was 90-minute event. The individual events included a 50-question general forestry knowledge test. The students had to identify 25 trees along trails. After that, students measured trees and determined how many logs there were using a Biltmore stick. The students took a 20-question test interpreting maps and also had to solve a forestry business management test.
For the team activity, we had 90 minutes to walk along trails, and along those trails we had identified 25 trees. And about half of them they had us measure for logs, again with Biltmore sticks, and we also used a clinometer to determine the height of the trees. Some of the stations we had compasses So they'd have a flag along the trail, and you have to use a compass to determine the degree degree of the where the flag was, using from where you're standing. And along with that, there was some stations ready to identify forestry tools that they use in the industry that they would use. And then the last section was another short forest busy management test to see if you knew how to do the business part of it.
My name is Kara Roeder, and I'm a senior. Ace, Tucker, Grant, and I all received bronze medals for individual results, and overall as a team we were 30th of 42, receiving a bronze. I know for me personally it was a very challenging and difficult competition, and going into it we knew it was going to be hard, but we did our very best, and it was a very good learning experience.
Hi, I'm Melissa Engel, and I'm a sophomore, and I'll be talking about the first general session, our keynote speaker, Kevin Wanzer. His main message was to choose to engage in laughter and be able to find the laughter around you and the funny in life. A story he told was that the Hawaiian culture believes when you are born with a bowl of light inside you called mana. Mana means power. It's our connection to the universe and to each other. Every time you are negatively affected, pebbles fill up the bowl of light, and eventually the light gets suffocated. The light is still there, but can't shine through all the negativity. So that's when you ask yourself, why did this happen to me, or why did this happen for me? You are the one that is in control about how you handle the circumstances. You can take the pebble and learn from your lessons and toss it out, which is how we connect as one in life, or you can keep letting the negativity keep you in the darkness. There are only two emotions in life, fear and love. Fear is the pebbles, and fear cannot exist where love is, and vice versa.
So as a chapter, we were awarded a 2-star for National Chapter Award. And what the National Chapter Award is the National Chapter Award program is designed to recognize FFA chapters and activities, and to show like how involved people are in the chapter, and just show how involved your chapter is. And in order to qualify for state and national awards, you have to complete at least 15 activities. Chapters receive gold ratings by their state FFA associates, are eligible to compete or complete for national FA 3 stars, or you can get a 3-star, a 2-star, or a 1-star. This year we got a 2-star, which is the top 10% of chapters, and next year we hope that we can get a 3-star, which put us in the top 5% of chapters in Iowa.
I'll be also talking about our 4th general session speaker, Dr. Temple Grandin. Her main message was there are different ways of thinking. There are visual thinkers, they think in pictures, and they're good at inventing mechanical equipment, art, photography, working with animals, and high-skilled trades. There are also mathematical thinkers. They think in patterns. They're good at computer programming, traditional engineering, chemistry, and physics. There are also word-based thinkers. They use their words. They are usually writers, lawyers, teachers, and they work in retail and sales.
The rodeo had lots of exciting events and acts that were super entertaining. We also got to meet some of the contestants before the rodeos and get autographs and take pictures. All of the contestants were super nice. Some of us even tried to rope.
Hi, I am Grace Luchins, and I am a freshman. The announcer, Raj Mooney, was in ed classes just like us. And it was important to him because when he was in 8th grade, he couldn't finish a book report. And as he went into ed classes as a freshman, he learned, the classes helped him to have better communication skills. And now he can talk in front of hundreds of people. His message was, just because you can't do a book report or aren't very good in school doesn't mean you can't exceed in other things.
Grady and I attended the Power of Questions, which is a workshop we worked through that just helps you with little things like that. So In this workshop, we learned the importance of asking questions. For example, you're going to make sure questions are descriptive, and along with that, easy to understand. Many problems or misunderstandings can be solved in our world with just a simple question if you didn't understand what they meant or if they weren't more detailed enough. Another thing we learned, if you want to try to communicate and meet new people, is to try to avoid yes and no questions. If you truly want to learn something more about someone, you have to have more depth and more conversation to make it more easier for you to meet them.
During the workshop we attended, we did an activity. In this activity, you had a card on your back, and you had to ask descriptive questions to other people to figure out what the card was. And the better questions you asked, the better feedback you received. And also making the questions easier to understand for people, they could better help you figure it out.
At the Career and College Fair, there were many agriculture-related businesses there, including John Deere, Case, New Holland, Fendt, AGCO, Pioneer, Ford, and Dodge, and many more. There was also many colleges there to give students many opportunities for themselves to go out and explore and have many opportunities.
Hello, I'm Tucker Brunsvold. I'm the Vice President of the FFA, and I'm here to talk to you about some more opportunities that there was at the college fair. As you can see, there's many different companies, many different people too, so there's a lot of lines. But Harold, Grant, and I we all went to the Kloss booth and talked about their new Jaguar 900, just the Jaguar silage chopper with 900 horsepower. And it's pretty cool. The guy gave us some posters and told us more about it and just gave us a whole rundown on it. It's pretty neat to learn more about different machines and all that kind of good stuff. Thank you.
So next year, the 98th National FFA Convention will be held October 29th through the November 1st. So you can tell in a couple more years after that, we'll be celebrating the 100th anniversary. So I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen then, but it will be in Indianapolis. It'll be there through 2031. We do appreciate you allowing us to head out of town, take students away from the classroom for 4 days. I stress with the students we have to justify why we're missing 4 days of class time. We have to gain some knowledge out there, and I think they made the best of the opportunities. I was talking to Mr. Davis before this started, and he was out there in the downtown area. There were 70,000 FFA members and guests and advisors there. That's a lot of people. We are almost, in my opinion, outgrowing the convention center for workshops. It was challenging for students to get into workshops because they filled up so quickly. So on the last day we were there, some of the students were supposed to go to a workshop, and I said, we've got this speaker that's going to be speaking Friday morning that I would maybe encourage you to listen to. She's got a pretty good message. I've heard her speak several times, and she's not let me down. And I think they really enjoyed listening to Temple Grandin and what she brought to the auditorium that morning. And so it was a really good chance for them to hear it's okay to be different, and it's okay to think differently. And so that was really good. I'm just going to wrap up the last 12 months that we've done. You can see I took 2 seniors, I took 5 sophomores, and 3 freshmen with me. I graduated a good group of kids. They actually helped qualify for the team, but they had moved on to college. So I recruited 3 sophomores to come along. So we're not basically rebuilding, we're reloading, because I've got some great sophomores this next year that will be able to take part in that same competition. And there's 2 contests we qualify out of Envirothon, the Environmental Natural Resources Contest, as well as the Forestry Contest. Forestry was challenging for them. This is the first time we qualified for it. And if you're not aware, we don't have a lot of forests in this part of the state, let alone in Iowa. So that was quite challenging for them to learn the materials, learn the terms, and do very well. They were the second highest bronze team, so they were really close to qualifying for the next area. So a little bit more work, a little bit more knowledge, and we're going to be good. We've had a busy 12 months since we were here last. We had 7 Iowa degrees at the state FFA leadership contest. We had 2 freshmen last year participate in the freshman quiz. They both earned gold. We had 2 events qualify for state. We had Logan Lentz qualify for ag broadcasting, earning a silver. We had Cassidy Bierstedt with a green hand for the Creed, and she earned a bronze. Team Ag Sales, Farm Business Management both earned golds, and then the poultry contest, silver. So pretty decent spring for us. We've had some excitement over the summer. We had the forestry contest at National Convention. We had the Kossuth and Iowa State Fairs. We had a district soils contest. We had the 6th, 8th, and 10th place teams. And then we did Clay County Fair livestock judging. And so, like I said, they've stayed busy, they stay engaged, and we just keep trying to provide leadership and communication opportunities for the students. Up there is, if you could read it and everything, it's talking about what these students have done. They keep records. It's part of their grades. It's part of how they earn degrees and everything. And it is a chance for them to earn scholarships, earn recognition. Each student had a project. We actually averaged 1.7 projects per student. We had almost 9,000 hours journaled, whether they're in a placement, ownership, or a research type SAE. We had 441 contest hours, 62 contests. Their value of the SAE income thus far this year for 23 was $124,000. That's a lot. As compared to $37,000 in 2022. Our total economic impact to the Algona community was $104,000. That means with their dollars earned, purchase, things like that, and their volunteerism, they gave back to the community $104,000. That's a lot to ask of students to give back. I'm working on some industry-recognized credentials, IRCs, with YQCA and possibly some OSHA 10 training for students. This is going to be important because I think that's how schools are going to be evaluated, how many recognized credentials do students have. So we're being a little proactive on this end, trying to get some going for us, and those are easily going to be attained. The question I have now is, what questions do you have for myself or the 11 awesome students that I have here tonight?
Do we have any questions? You're right about the sea of 70,000 blue. I would find Waldo. If you could find me, you've been very lucky. I've never
Imagine
seen
being
so
an
many.
advisor looking for students in blue
Yeah.
jackets.
So I took the elevator, or stairs a couple times. The elevator wasn't worth waiting for.
No, it would not be.
On a couple of those, but it looked like everybody's having a good time, and it definitely is a lot of students out there. Any questions for them? Well, we thank you for coming each year. We love it when you're here, and we appreciate the report back after every year. I don't think you have to worry about getting approval for us for years to go.
Appreciate it. Thank you, folks.
Great job, everyone.
Great job.
Thank you.
You guys can stay for the rest of the meeting if you want.
There's real leadership. All right, we'll continue to move on. Next is our consent items, which you should have received at your packet on Friday. I know there's a few more invoices that are in front of you here to look at, but anything, Joe, that you in comments or anybody else?
You know, as usual, you take a look at revenues versus expenditures. Our revenues are about $700,000 ahead of our expenditures, which is anticipated, and certainly the trend that we want to see and that we expect in FY25. So things look very good right now.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? If not, then we need a motion to approve consent items.
So moved.
Thanks. Todd, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Lana. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Consent items approved. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Yeah, start with our certified enrollment. Certified enrollment takes place on October 1st. That's the count day, and then you certify it by October 15th. So there's a kind of a 2-week window there where you make sure everything is correct, and you work with other districts who maybe 2 districts are counting 1 student, all examples of what we have. Big thing here, our certified enrollment is up 35 students, 35.75 students. Certified enrollment drives our per pupil funding for the next year, for the 2025-2026 school year. Overall, there's 25.55 more students attending Algona than last year. I would say I anticipate that our enrollment to drop next year in 2025-2026, although I said that same thing a year ago when we talked about certified enrollment. When we did all of our forecasting financially and looking at our seniors going out, which was 119 compared to our kindergarten coming in, we certainly felt we would lose at least 30 students, and we didn't. We went up 35 students. So there's a big swing in there of 50 to 60 students that I don't know, we could say it's one thing at all, but shows up through all of our grade levels, which is a great thing. Our certified enrollment, 1,447, would be the largest certified enrollment we've had in the school district in 25 years. That's how far our electronic records go back. It's probably 27 years, to be honest, but certainly a lot of kids in our schools, a lot of kids in our buildings, a lot of kids in our classrooms. Our educational savings account funds 240 resident students who attend a private school. So there's 247 resident students who attend a private school and receive an educational savings account. This year, any student enrolled in public school the previous year or who attended non-public and last year's family has a household income of 400% of the federal poverty are eligible. That's most. Next year, it will be every student who attends the private school will be eligible. So we'll anticipate that 247 number going up to 300, 330, something around those lines. We receive categorical funding for every one of those students of around $1,200. So 247 times 1,200 is about $300,000 of categorical general fund dollars that we'll receive. Did a little bit of comparison. Our resident students attending our district is up 25 kids. It's up over 110 over the last 2 years, but keep in mind reorganization is certainly part of that number, a big part of that number. Our certified enrollment is up 35, up 139 over the last 2 years. 113 seniors this year, 85 kindergarten anticipated next year. That's where we get those predictions of we certainly feel our number will be down 30, but I said the same thing last year with similar counts. Open enrolled in this year we have 120. Last year we had 119, so very, very similar. One thing to keep note of, I think, is 45 of our students out to North Iowa. Last year it was 40, so that number's not a lot different. It's very, very similar. As our district has grown in size, we lose people from the edges, from the corners of our district, where it's much closer to go to North Iowa, for example, than it is to Algona. The reason I say to keep North Iowa noted is they went to a 4-day school week this year, and see if that affects us either way, either plus for our side or not. Pre-K4 students attending the statewide voluntary preschool, we're down 2.5. That would be down 5 students as we're funded half for each of those students. And total school-aged kids is up over 25. As I said, I would anticipate that number going down for last year. But overall, this is a celebration. Anytime you can not decline in a rural district, you're really excited, and we're up 25 on a year we anticipated being down 30, a swing of 50 to 60 kids. So a very, very positive thing for the district. Any questions on certified enrollment?
So if we're down 25, 30 kids next year, that's $200,000 worth of funds, right?
Yeah. And when we build our financial forecasts, the ones we've worked on already this fall that go out till 2030, I think, we have that built in that way. We have built to lose those kids a similar number the next year. We did also last year, but now we've had to readjust those forecasts because we didn't go down 30. We went up 25. So we try to forecast those in a real conservative way. Based upon the kids who are actually here. What we can't ever account for is kids who come in new, and we had a lot of that through the year. And the middle school might touch on some of that as in their presentation tonight as well. Iowa Association of School Board Convention is next week, Thursday the 21st, at the Iowa Event Center in Des Moines. The Delegate Assembly, which Rodney will represent us as the delegate, is on Wednesday, November 20th. 3 great keynote speakers. 2 of them I'm not as familiar. Anthony Muhammad, I certainly am, a tremendous speaker who will really provide some great information, great knowledge about success in schools. I think getting as many there as possible is beneficial to the district. Let Lisa know if you'd like to participate in the convention. We can get registered. If we need hotel rooms for Wednesday night, we can do that as well. There's a link there, or like I said, Lisa can help us get registered for that.
All right. Anything else? That's it. Okay. Any other questions for Joe on his report? All right. If not, we'll move on to administrative report. And tonight we have the middle school with us.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
We're here tonight. We're going to talk about our EL program here at the middle school and some of the things that we're doing to support our ELL students and our middle school staff. As Joe pointed out, we've seen a large influx of our ELL student population. Many of those are brand new to our district. Our number one driving force of enrollment at the middle school was ELL students coming in this year. And it wasn't even close to the, in comparison. So it's a huge factor. We identified last year that we wanted to do something different with our ELL learners as we realized it was an area of growth. We're recognizing the increasing number of students entering our middle school with limited to no English skills. We currently have 20 students that fall into that category where they have very limited English skills or they do not speak English at all. And we had to find a better way to serve those students. Not just the students, but our teachers. Support Mrs. Gent and her work. She'll be speaking here in a minute. But also just our general education staff. How do we service those students and educate them in the classrooms? With that goal in mind, one of our first things, we formed an ELL leadership team with the whole focus on not only to learn about how to educate these students, how to support them, but also directly how to support our entire staff with strategies and instructional practices that enhance the learning for our students. I got to thank Mr. Carter for the support. I came to you last year and asked if you would support us forming another leadership team. We had a goal in mind and you supported us with that. And I know on behalf of the entire middle school, we want to thank you for that because that's not always an easy thing to take on. But we saw a need and you allowed us to explore that. And we formed a team, and I have a couple of the members here that will talk. First of all, Drew Severson and Justine Garman are on the leadership team with Lois Gent. Bree Week is also on it. I decided to have Rudy here instead of his wife. So she's at home with the kids, but she's also part of that leadership team. It's the first year in existence, so we are learning as we go. They've done an amazing job in providing professional learning for our staff, and they're going to kind of present some of that to you, as well as resources to create a supportive learning environment that not only helps our ELL students, but what we're finding is helping our other students as well. It's becoming a collaborative learning environment for everybody. So Drew and Justine will come up first and do a little learning and presentation with you guys.
Okay, so as James said, that we have our ELL committee that we have set up. E and Rudy and Mick Rasmussen help us as well with facilitating us and helping us figure out which direction we needed to go. So as an ELL team, we decided that our main focus for right now at the start of the year was going to be vocabulary and getting them to know as many words as possible. We are getting data from another source we've gone through with the letters training and have gone through and gone over their early phonics screeners. And we have found that over time with the things that we're doing right now, they're showing good progress. We tested them in September, and then we tested them again in October to see if their early phonics is coming up. Are they using letter sounds correctly? Can they identify what letters or which letters? Can they recognize sight words? So some of the things that we've implemented is trying to show that it has worked. By having that ELL committee or the group, one of the main benefits of us doing it as a group and getting a chance to lead some of our PD is the buy-in. According to another group that I was a part of, Jimmy Cassis was saying in there for his Let's Recalibrate that it's an 80-20% buy-in. If you can get 80% of your staff to buy in on something that you're working with 20 going against, then you have a good chance of people following through. And since it's coming from fellow teachers and from what the information that we have tried out together, it's a lot bigger buy-in from that since we are the ones presenting it, and we've shown that we facilitated in our classes. So when we were introduced with vocabulary as our main start, we were given a lot of resources. Megan and Rasmussen gave us plenty of resources to look through. Rudy gave us a really good one called Kim's. We tried out a few different things in our classrooms, and then we reported back to each other on how it worked in our class. We did our own testing and our own piloting. We felt after we met the second time that our best one to lead forward with is one that Justine Garman had found. We thought it fit very well, not just for our regular student, or for our ELL students, but our full classrooms would benefit greatly from using this strategy, working with vocabulary. And then we were able to present it to our staff members, and quite a few of them have tried it out, not because we expected them to, but because we presented and we said of how it worked in our classrooms. So I'm glad Justine, go ahead and explain how that was working. Yeah.
So they're going to pass out an example of what some of us have used in our classrooms. Like Drew said, the big idea was we need to front load this vocabulary. So when I start a unit, this is what my students get in my class. They have to complete 5 of these words before we move on and start the unit. This is really beneficial to them because I don't have to teach them what is in the unit and new words at the same time. They already have the background knowledge of those new words that they're learning with this paper. So that's what we start our units with. This has really helped increase participation with not only our EL students, but also our average students that are in class. So at the top of the paper, I give them a list of terms, and they write down the 5 that they want to learn. So that's what they write at the top in the word box that you guys see. And then under that, they go in and they write in their definition. After that, they go over and they do a translation. For our students that come in who speak Spanish, they are doing this whole paper in English besides this part right here. It is really important that they don't lose that native language, so we help practice it in my classroom still. So they do the translation, like I said, from English to Spanish. Our English students do the opposite way. They learn some Spanish in my class as well. We also have some bilingual students who are fluent in Spanish and English, and I gave those students an option to pick a different language they wanted to try to learn. So I have one actually right now working on Russian, because he is fluent in English, Spanish, and now he's trying out a third one. And then after that, they go to a thesaurus, and they use it to find like terms for their synonyms, and they just have to give me 2 of those, and then after that, they go and draw a picture to help keep that in their memory a little better. So like I said, they do 5 of those for me, and then we start our unit, so they have a better background knowledge of what they're going to learn.
Okay, so introducing myself again. I'm Lois Gent. This is my 2nd year at Algona Middle School. And I came over as I was at Laverne Elementary as the 5th grade teacher for several years. Got my ESL endorsement there and came over to take this opportunity here at the middle school when we closed our building. But one of the things that I like to look at as far as like how we should present things to our ESL students is we don't want them to just have to jump into the classroom. We want to give them a foundation that they can build on, because every student that comes through our door, we want them to be successful so that they continue on into their education, be a productive member of society, and not just hold down a job, but actually do their dream job. Okay, and it's no different for ESL students. So the way I look at it is what we do for our students when we have our 3rd period, which that is me co-teaching with Missy Creeps, and we do all their foundational skills. So if they need to work on phonics skills, if they need to work on building up words, any strategies that they need to do, we work on those as a whole group unit at that time. And then and then anything that they need to work on further, I have them in an additional time in my classroom so that I can work on them in a smaller group and more concentrated towards what they need individually at that time. We did adopt a little bit of a program, so I have a middle ground that I can kind of jump off of when we bring new students in, because it's not easy putting in basically an individualized plan together for each one of these students and facilitating that all day long. So I needed to have something that was a kind of our middle ground, which is called a basic ESL program. It is a system that has a lot of general vocabulary, and you've heard a lot of information from Justine and Drew both, that they're working on vocabulary. Vocabulary is the key to getting these students to work forward. And they can pick up a second language very quickly because they already have their first language in hand. So we're just trying to flip that into their new language, which is English. And working through vocabulary is one of the strong ways that we can do this. And I've also seen that by doing the concentration of the third period, as well as having an additional time with me, has benefited these students. They've moved forward a lot quicker than like even last year, because I was trying to do all of this building just one person, one period at a time, and we weren't making as much headway. So that's pretty much what our program is. Thank you.
So before I switch gears just a little bit, does anybody have any questions about the ELL program, the third period stuff, the PD or any of that ELL education? Okay.
So, I mean, I commend you guys, because this is a challenge that maybe we didn't see coming, and I don't think it's going to necessarily go away anytime soon. It's not a problem, it's just a challenge, you know, and so, just a kid comes in new to our district that is not no English background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're working on vocabulary. What does their day look like? So, I mean, they're in other classes.
Yeah.
This is, right, you can't.
Great question. So we essentially, the only class that they wouldn't have in with their general education students would be ELA. We just felt like in every class, differentiate, front load vocabulary. We'll give you strategies on how to handle students that speak a different language. ELA was hard because they're trying to learn a whole new language, and the stuff that our middle school students are learning are just not foundational skills a lot of times. So the third period class that Lois was just talking about is where all of our, what we'd call our newcomers, or the ones that really need help with those foundational skills, have third period ELA with Lois and Mrs. Creeps as well. And there's some other teachers in there too that come in during their preps to help, and it's honestly a fantastic thing. I
Really define newcomers for us.
Yeah, so newcomers are people that have come to our district recently. We typically would expect to be like a 1 or 2 years would be considered newcomers still. Hopefully after those 1 or 2 years, we're ready to transition out of ELL, yes. Newcomers from a non-English speaking country. It doesn't have to be from Spanish, but if their primary language is something other than English and they've come to Algona here within the last year or two, we would consider them to be newcomers. With the goal of them being able to learn what they need to not be in that class, after some time. We would expect fifth graders that start in that class, hopefully as eighth graders, they're not in there anymore. But as of right now, that class is fantastic, and the kids are working so hard. And it's honestly you go in there, and the biggest thing for me is it feels like they're so much more comfortable than what they are when I see them in the halls or in their other classes, because they're with a bunch of other people that are just like them, and they get to really, I mean, I feel like it's awesome, and it makes the camaraderie with that group of kids so much better too, because they all have that class together and they have that time together. It's pretty neat. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question for sure.
No, that's you're answering it. So I mean, they
Oh
don't
yeah,
take other subjects.
their day. They are in all their other classes like normal. They get pulled out for ELA third period, and then there's one other time throughout the day that they would have a class with Lois in a small group of 3 or 4. But other than that, they'd be in their regular general ed classes.
So how can a student who speaks no English fit into a world history, social studies class, or a math class and get proper instruction from a teacher who does not speak?
Yeah, it's really hard, but it's done so through differentiation. They deserve to be educated with their grade level students, just like anybody else. And so front-loading vocab is a great strategy we use for that. That way they're not trying to figure out the words as they're coming. Also, focusing on cognates, the words that are in English and Spanish that sound the same in both are huge connection points for the kids, because those are like free vocab words that they already know. We chunk a lot of things. So we'll take this, we want every student to read this article about Andrew Jackson. Well, we'll delete a lot of it, or use an AI program that will reduce it down to an easier reading level, or we'll reduce it down and cut out the parts that maybe are fillers that help you understand it but aren't foundational to the actual standard that we're trying to teach. And then even within that, highlighting parts that they really need to learn throughout that. So it's not necessarily, it's kind of just reducing the amount of learning that they have to do and still keeping the core standards and stuff intact. It's hard.
Shaverson, go ahead.
Yeah, by all means.
Right in
Sorry,
on
I
that.
didn't see you.
Oh, no, you're good. Okay, so for example, my social studies class, and then also for Justine, we have the TCI program that we use for it. The TCI program has it all set up that matches very well with their curriculum. It has PowerPoints as well. We can switch everything into Spanish. So I can present my slides in English. I can have 2 slides up, one in English, one in Spanish if I want to, and they can do the exact same things that we are doing. We can take the reading that we have, we can change it to Spanish, put it into their Google Classroom, and they can pull up the exact same reading that we have in English in Spanish on theirs as well. Now, when we cover our vocabulary, we're still going to be using similar things like what Justine had. We're going to make sure that they're also getting it in English and getting their information in English, but they also have their resource that's on the side that's also in Spanish. The assessments can easily be printed off as well. The same way, there's a spot where I can do it in English, there's a spot I can do it in Spanish. They've got their packets that they can use for the information that's also going to be in English and that can also be in Spanish. For the other classes, a lot of them have some resources. We've got good opportunities with Google Translate. Math kind of fits in general as it is. There's language is not as much of a barrier there. But same with science and social studies. A lot of things that we start to come up with are things that are visual. And since it's visual, it's a lot easier for them to get a comprehension on. When we're pulling up our maps and covering different areas, they can still see all those as well. We're finding a lot of times if we have something in routine, that makes their lives a lot easier as well. For example, my class we went over states and capitals, and they come up and they need to mark down which state as they go through, and I will have constant raised hands from my Spanish-speaking students that know very little English, because they're like, I got this one. I can mark down South Dakota. I get that because it's not as much to memorize, and they know they're going to get called on and that they're going to be participating in class. So we have a lot of extra resources that kind of come with what we have, and that's a big help.
So when there's ELL students in a classroom, it's the primary teacher of that class is responsible for adapting the curriculum or helping them come on.
All of our teachers are responsible for the differentiation for all of their students, unless they have a specialized education plan, but even then they're differentiating for those students as well.
There need to be accommodations for that. Drew mentioned math. Math is another one, curriculum that the IM Math has a lot of resources for our Spanish learning students that speak Spanish. But I do want to point out we have multiple students in the district that we're serving in the middle school that are not Spanish speaking. We had some students that initially were from the Ukraine.
Right.
They actually ended up, their language skills are very, very strong. We have India, and then we had Japan, Japanese as well. So we spend a lot of time talking about ELL students that are Spanish speaking, but we actually this year had multiple countries that we were working with. And Lowe's has done a great job because they're all at different levels. And as I said, our Ukrainian students were very quick to pick up the language skills. They had them previously. Our students from India are doing a really nice job, I would say. Some of our Spanish-speaking students come to us and they speak no English whatsoever. And then that's when we have an integration process as well. I think that's much better than last year, where they just, before that was one of our concerns. They come, they do some testing, and welcome to school. It's not a very warm situation.
The good news with all of this is that good ELL strategies are good strategies. Good ELL strategies are good reading strategies. They help all of our kids learn. So like front-loading vocab, that's good for everybody. So it's not as disruptive to our day as much as it is just making us better teachers.
How much, yeah, I mean, all these kids deserve an education. How much time of a teacher in a classroom is spent adapting the curriculum to accommodate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would have, it would.
This is a big deal. Like this year, it's a big change. It's a shift.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, hopefully next year it's a little easier just because it's part of the routine. But like, what I get worried about is, are we compromising the education of, English-speaking students, that aren't maybe going to be able to achieve? And then my other question is when we see this, are they, ELL students? I mean, what kind of benchmarks are they proficient? Are they, where are they fitting in as far as?
I want to, we are not watering down the curriculum. We are not making less rigor. We're providing supports and scaffolding so that more kids can experience success. But that doesn't mean that our standards of excellence has gone down at all. It's just that our levels of support for some students that need a little bit more support has gone up a little bit.
Which is ultimately more work, though, right? I mean,
Correct.
I think the key there is if any student comes to us and their needs are different, the expectation is we work for those needs.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just.
It is more work, but I also feel it's in line with their jobs. I mean, and they do, teaching's a hard job, man, and our teachers are some of the best on the planet. And they work very hard to educate all of our students. And it is more work, but I think that they see the need for it too.
This is also one of the reasons we created our leadership team, though. So instead of teachers trying to learn in isolation, we now have a team that's helping to lead that learning curve and present the resources to our staff. So instead of a teacher doing it on their own and being isolated, they now have a team that's presenting strategies, doing some of that work for them, and our leadership teams are compensated for their work.
It was actually the first thing that the team decided was what do our teachers need? And they said what our teachers need are strategies that they can take in their classrooms, that we can show them, the next day they can use them. And so that's what we've been doing, is practicing those strategies so that we can bring the best ones possible to those teachers.
I was also just going to touch on the time situation. My class is working on economics right now, and I just created a test for them that I hope they'll take this week. The regular test that I will give an average student, 30-ish questions. From there, we can take those questions and just take questions away, simplify them, and we use AI all the time to help do that for us. So the process isn't going to take longer by any means, maybe 5 minutes at most, especially if we are using those tools like AI that we have now.
Teachers are learning. That's what you guys help out with.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't know where to begin with.
That's one of the challenges in the district. I think Brent, providing support for our teachers in the middle school's got a leadership team. We've had I suppose an expert from the AEA come in and meet with groups from our buildings. Well, I think twice already this year. We're scheduled 2 more times, and then they take that back to their. So that's an emphasis in the district right now is that we're building the capacity of our people to work in these areas, because it is an area that isn't as common for us. Middle school's doing a really good job. Also keep in mind the middle school. Lois, what do you have, 2025 on your roster?
We have 24 as of today.
2024, there's 50 in the elementary, and 30% of our total EL population in the district is in grades K and 1. So we're learning now because there's a lot more coming. There's a lot more coming fast.
So do we have like leadership teams at that level doing something very similar?
Yep. So there's high school and elementary groups who are coming. They've met with the instructor from the AEA multiple times, and they drive that back through. And that's a process that, you know, we're not going to get done in a year. You know, it'll take time to continue to educate our people in strategies that are effective with an English language learner. An important part, and Rudy said this, you know, strategies that are good for an English language learner are good for all students. So we're teaching emergent reading and phonics explicitly, like we are at the elementary. That's good for EL students. You get to the middle school level, we're not teaching, and Drew touched on this, we're not teaching phonics in that way, so we have to branch out and do more, and that's what we do in Lois's room, and we're able to take some of the knowledge from our letters training, which Drew talked about, and use that in the instruction with these students.
So with the, you know, our enrollment, we're talking about enrollment going up, our certified enrollment, you know, with 30 kids, you know, majority of those ELL students. So that's extra, and it's money to our district that we didn't anticipate because there's funding per kid, correct?
Correct.
So, I don't want to say it's a surplus, but I mean, there is, you know, $200,000 necessarily that we weren't anticipating, you know, and that goes to those kids, and it's going to cost more to educate, even if they weren't ELL kids, it would still be, but I mean, is there a way to use some of that extra money to build teams, to compensate leaders?
Yeah, for sure.
People like
Yep.
Spanish-speaking individuals, or?
Yep. And we have a
Is
number.
there a way to compensate, like, you know, teachers' aides that are, you know, bilingual to,
Yep.
and use them in a different way?
We hired a bilingual translator last year. That rate for that position is differently. That's been very, very valuable for us in the elementary. We would hire 5 more if those people were available to us, and maybe they will become more available to us as we go. We use our TLC funds for all of our leadership groups. That's what we did with this example, as well as lots of different leadership groups throughout the district. Our TLC funds are one of those categoricals that grow from ESA, excess ESA dollars that we receive. So yeah, there are ways for us to fund these things, and we'll continue to do that. We know we currently, in 2019, we had a 0.5 FTE towards EL in 2019. Right now, we are 4.0. You know, so we've increased that drastically, and I don't think we have it probably at a point that's high enough. Like Lois said, she has 24 on her roster, and Abby Kissinger in the elementary has 50. You know, so we know those needs are great down there, and we're going to have to continue to explore how well we're meeting those needs and what's the best way to do that.
A lot of times as these populations grow in communities, the students come before the support do. It does. You know, these adults are coming in because they're getting jobs. They have jobs that, you know, so it's hard. Like Mr. Carter said, we'd hire more of them if we had more of them to hire. But it's tough to come by the adults for a while.
Yeah.
No, I think your work that you guys are doing is good. I really appreciate you guys coming and reporting on this. I'm just asking questions that.
Yeah. No, I think they're good questions.
You know, my kids, you know, I talk to them, they're in school, you know, I mean, you know, talked about, you know, she's with these students, you know, when they're doing games or Jeopardy or quizzes, and, you know, she's working with them, so I mean, it's interaction, and she's learning and things, and she's having to explain, you know, stuff, so it's not a negative thing, but it's just, you know, my concern is, I guess as a parent, community member too, is, you know, is it affecting your average kid in school? You know, is the curriculum getting watered down? Is there opportunities being restricted? And that's just something I would not want to see happen, nor any parent.
For sure. We feel pretty good about where the education's at in the middle school and where it's headed. Like I do.
Yeah, I think the key was nothing's getting watered down. There are accommodations being made for those individual students and their needs, but we're not taking the core instruction and changing it up for the students. We're not making modifications. How's that? We are making accommodations for those students that need it.
And Rudy, I think what you said too is this is not a problem that's new. It's unique to our district. This has happened to other districts before where, population and culture changes, and obviously there's experience there, so.
Yeah.
That other schools have done, so. I just, I just want to see that we have the funding towards this. It is an important thing. Those kids deserve education, and like you said, if there's 30 kids higher in our, or we have 50, 80 kids that are ELL, there's money there that, we need to kind of balance that out to make sure that these kids get opportunities to learn and it's not affecting other learners. And it sounds like we're doing stuff, so. Good, thanks, guys.
I think one of the positives, I have a middle schooler too. This year it's not just Spanish speakers, it's the Ukrainian, the Japanese kid, the Indian. It makes the other children more empathetic. Like I would hear a lot of the kid from Ukraine is catching on so fast, or and all the other kids want to help those kids acclimate and learn and move forward and grow, and it's new and novel and interesting, and they all want to sort of help. It's good for their emotional well-being.
If you guys are cool with it, I have like 2 minutes of restorative practice and stuff to catch you up on. It'll be quick. This is actually my third year here. This is the third year of us requiring every time that there is a behavior that's called an office referral, so this teacher has kicked a kid out. This is our third year of having that automatically come with an after-school meeting with either me or James, the teacher, and the student. The reason that we do this is primarily to keep the teacher involved in the process. If they kick a kid out and that kid's gone, right? They're out of the class, they come back the next day, the teacher has no idea what happened. The student's mad at the teacher for kicking them out, and no conversations have happened in between. That leads to continued problems. So they actually piloted it the year before I got here, and then the year that I got here, we rolled it out to everybody. And I think I've talked about it both of the previous years, so I wanted to talk about it in year 3 because we have some data that says that it's going pretty well at the middle school. 83% of our middle school teachers say that if they send a kid to the office, they are involved in the process. Another 7% say that they might not be involved in it, but they'd at least be informed about it. I want that to be 100% that they are involved in the process. But 83% feeling involved when they send a kid out of their classroom is headed the right direction. We feel like those are good statistics. And then 87.5% of our teachers say that the processes we have in place for student behavior are either very or moderately effective. And so that's headed the right direction as well. There's going to be nothing that works for 100% of the students, but when our 87.5% of our teachers are saying that they feel like what we're doing for behaviors is working, that feels pretty good. And so we do feel like we're on a good path behaviorally as well. And we think we're going to keep doing the work there in the way that we've been doing it, looking for ways to improve, of course, but we like that process for sure.
Thanks, Rudy.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for all the information tonight. Good questions and just good dialogue.
You guys don't have to stay for the meeting.
Oh, okay.
All right, everyone. We'll
Good
move into
stuff's
old
yet to
bu-
come.
We'll move into old business, and we have the second reading of board policies.
Second reading, so this is stuff that we did go through last week. A lot of policies on the review, but really very few changes. One change in 50701, student health and immunization. We changed the term physician to licensed healthcare provider. The next change would go down to 50706, no changes. While our policy is not the same as the IASB, it does give us the authority to provide insurance or not. The district is not required to provide parent-paid and student insurance. 50704, student illness or injury at school. Language requires parent to complete emergency contact forms. Also gives authorization for procedures. And then 700, the purpose of non-instructional and business services. Our policy has additional language, actually. In paragraph 1, IASB recommends language stating that if a bargaining unit is recognized, its language will prevail. Example of that would be our teacher associates are a bargaining unit. That collective bargaining agreement prevails over the classified handbook, for example, which we try to line those up so that's not a situation anyway.
Any questions on those second readings if you had a chance to look at them over? All right, we need a motion then to approve the second reading.
Motion to approve the second reading.
Thanks, Brent. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Andrea. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Second reading's approved. We'll move into the corrected modified allowable growth. Which
Yeah,
we
so there's
looked at
a
last month.
kind of a colorful document. Last month, we did approve the modified allowable growth for special education. However, the state program did not have the right numbers in there. Lisa recognized that, contacted them, and they said, yeah, that is correct. The number was wrong. So what we're doing tonight is approving the correct number of $1,640,000.
I make a motion to approve the modified allowable growth for special education to the 1.640161.29
I will second that.
updated number.
All right, we have a motion and a second, Andrea, and Brent second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The modified allowable growth corrected, approved. Superintendent goals, we wanted to break those down just a little bit.
Yep.
Joe has.
So what's on your handout, it has the 3 goals as we've used before, and as we talked about last month, those are kind of general over, and they're good goals to have, but getting more specific, specifically into number 2, where we want to cultivate an inclusive, caring, and supportive school community that promotes the academic success and well-being of each student and staff member. I've added 3 additional sub-goals on there. The first being to develop and maintain a school environment where all individuals feel safe, connected, encouraged, and supported to grow as learners and citizens. To foster the environment, I'll commit to visiting each building at least 36 times through the 24-25 school year. We certainly think that, me being present and having the opportunity to be in all of our buildings on a regular basis does improve our school environment and our culture. The second one is to best support our staff and create an environment where all individuals, again, feel safe, connected, encouraged, and supported. I'll meet one-on-one with every district staff member through the 24-25 school year. That's 250 to 300 meetings that I think are really, really valuable, where I get to talk to those people and see the district and see what they do through their eyes. There's been lots of things that have come from those meetings that I think have improved us as a district and something I would like to continue. And the third is, we've talked about chronic absenteeism. You hear a lot about it. It is an issue. It's an issue in the nation. It's an issue in the state of Iowa. It's an issue in Algona. And just to improve the chronic absentee rate in our district from 21 to less than that. The state average is about 20, it's a little over 25, and we're 21. We got to keep chipping that away. That's way too many kids that are missing over 3 weeks of school per year, and anything we can do to make that better. There's a number of things we are doing. There's been some changes in legislation, although I don't think those make as big a difference as the work by our staff to develop relationships with families and with these students to improve their attendance.
Quick question on that, Joe. So that 21.2 is reflective of, there's 21.2% of the kids, so 1 in 5 kids misses over 3 weeks of
Yep.
school in our district.
Yep, chronically absent 10%, 180 days, 18 days, so yeah, almost four weeks, yes. 25% in the state, up to 40% in the nation.
Well, and we've had, I think, Jared's come, and I think the middle school, well, yeah, James did too, right?
Yep.
Last year,
Yep.
we talked about that, and we've made some really nice strides.
Yeah, the high school is keeping very, very tight data, looking at it probably almost on a weekly basis. Certainly through the first term, the first 9 weeks, they have data to show it's the best it's been in over a decade. in the high school with kids who have missed what would be 10% up to that point. So they just need to keep building on that.
So this may be a stupid question. Why?
Why what?
Why are they missing 3 weeks of school? I mean, is it illness? Is it social situations? Is it family life? Is it
Yeah.
vacations? Is it just,
You know,
my
guys,
kid doesn't
it's
wanna come to
all,
school?
I would tell you the ones that are missing and it impacts them the most at school, it's probably the environment they come from doesn't support being successful at school. And that's a really big deal. But I
So
will
it's
tell you,
just
that's
like,
not.
I didn't get up, my kids didn't get up in time, and I'm gonna call
Or,
it
or
quits.
I think a better example is there's one working car and it breaks down and they live 20 miles away. Or another example might be that they have to go work because their money is used to pay rent and pay utilities. All those examples are real and that we see every day. Certainly we have health reasons as well. We have families on vacation. All of those other examples exist as also. And I think that all of it together is what creates the issue. But building relationships with the families, ensuring that we're doing what we can for them to be successful, ensuring that they understand the huge impacts of being chronically absent. We, as a district, sent a lot of stuff out. It's all on our webpage currently of all the research that shows, number one, if a student is chronically absent in kindergarten, their chances of graduating high school are very, very low. We have that data to show that. We know that a student who's chronically absent as a freshman is going to achieve at such a lower level than a student who's not. And that's important data for not only a home that's not supportive of education, but ones that are too. That, missing school does impact your academics. It does impact the successes that you have from here.
And I won't argue that, and I think it's an important issue, but like I look at my profession, my job, like I happen to be able, with my schedule, it lines up with spring break this year, so we can go on a family vacation.
Yeah.
I have one more year with a kid in my house before he's off, wherever. So like next year, if we decide to do it, my kids are proficient, they're doing well. I just don't want to see families punished for taking family time, because I think that is equally as important, if not more
Yeah.
important than
Well,
academic success.
two points with that. Number one, we're not the people who punish. We're the people who support and help. There's no consequence from the school for missing school and it being appropriate for there to be. Secondly, I would say we support families in doing what's best for their child. In the case, my families went on vacation before. We know that the rest of the days are probably important that we don't miss for other reasons, though. But everyone has choices to make, and we support families in making their choices.
And I appreciate that, but I want that to be, I'm one member on the board, but we, as a board, also get to set the culture of the school, what we want coming out. I want that to be, I want to be supportive of families.
Yeah.
And there needs to be, now, if my kids have missed 15 days that year because of illness or other things, then I, as a parent, need to rethink, okay, maybe the family vacation is probably not,
Right.
priority here. But if my kids haven't missed a day and we end up missing a week and, now all of a sudden we're reported to the county attorney. I've talked to a lot of parents that are just, they don't know. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to be looked down on. And I think it's important that, from a leadership down, that is the message that we deliver, that
In the parts that we don't have discretion on, one of those being report to the county attorney, we're required by law now to do that. What we do have discretion on is our communication with the family. And I think anyone who's had that communication from the school would know it comes from a place of what can we do to help you? What can we do to support you? What can we do to make sure your child is successful? We do also need to let you know, we've sent the letter to the county attorney as we're required by law. So that we do tell them that in those cases, but we're not there to punish. We're there to help, and we're there to support.
I think school's probably for some of those kids who are chronically absent the best place for them to be too.
We think so. We think so for sure. I think that's part of our job is to make sure to make sure that child is engaged here and is getting something valuable that's going to help them in their lives. You know, Mrs. Becker talked about accreditations, workforce development. You know, I think something that we're not doing well enough in our district is providing those workplace opportunities for our kids, and that's something that's going to come to you guys in the next couple months in a few different ways. We need to do more of that. And, you know, I think when we provide more of those good experiences for kids, things like attendance will also improve.
I'm getting a little off subject, but we're on this topic because I know we're talking about superintendent goals. But if a family anticipates being gone, you know, we're going to be gone for 5 days, we're going on a vacation, we know we're missing school, whatever. What is done for that kid to be able to work ahead? You
Lainey,
know,
can I put you on the spot?
Absolutely, fire away.
Okay. Explain your situation, Lainey.
We knew last year that Daisy was going to London at the beginning of the school year. Daisy's not a student that struggles. She's not chronically absent. She's none of those things. And while she was in London, I was also gone. So I sent an email to Mr. Carter and Mr. Roder that said, hey, this is what time it's happening. This is when it worked out for her aunt to take her. She's going to be gone. I talked to all of the teachers and said, we don't expect you to have anything, you know, here's work for 10 days. That's up to her to catch up when she gets back. Like, that's not extra work for you. And it's all online anyway now, so it doesn't really matter. But I did get a talking to at conferences that, hey, you're flagged as your child is chronically absent. Am I worried about that? No, because I know that she's caught up. It took her a day to catch back up. She's not one of those kids that, but now she is worried about, if I don't feel good, do I go to school? Because I've already missed 10 days. That's where I'm kind of nervous that we're gonna end up sending sick kids to school because, but it worked out for us. I mean, no one came knocking on my door and said, hey, get your kid here. She's a Big Ben, she ain't coming.
So I think, Brent, to answer your question, you know, letting the school know ahead of time is certainly valuable. If there's work that they can provide, they will. If they think they need to, they will. If they think it's something that they can work with when they get back, they'll do that. So
I mean, are students allowed to make up assignments and?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
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 They've always been very accommodating. The girls missed some days around holidays to go spend time with their dad. And again, they're kind of in the same, similar situation. But all the teachers, whether it's before or after, have always been very supportive and accommodating of that, which we appreciate.
Communication is key.
I'll say, communication sounds like the key for all of it. So, okay, we have the goals that we tabled last month, and also with the sub-goals that we're looking at. Is there any other comments or questions to them? If not, then we need a motion then to approve the superintendent's goals. Thanks, Todd. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks. Brent, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Superintendent goals approved. We'll move on to new business. You do have the first readings of some board policies that we'll briefly touch on, probably.
Yep,
back
there's
next month.
just two, 50801, class or student group gifts. Same directive, there is some new language provided though. And then 5082, the open night, the Iowa Association of School Board Sample Policies brief. Our current district policy is a little more detailed, more guidance to the public and staff. So the recommendation will probably be to keep it as is.
Okay.
So those are just the first reading of those two policies that are scheduled for this month.
Yep, we'll come back to them next month then and look at approval. All right, we'll look at approving of a sharing agreement for the girls wrestling.
Last,
Sorry, one question.
Yes.
Yep,
I'm
sorry.
looking at the open night, and you're saying there's no changes on?
we would keep our current.
Okay, our current with, and it's got more language.
Yes, ours is more
Okay.
detailed, probably gives some good information for our people to have with some specifics and times included.
All right, thank you, sorry.
You bet. All right, the girls' sharing agreement, wrestling.
Yeah, this year we are planning on sharing girls wrestling with just North Union. Last year we also shared with just North Iowa. Last year we also shared with North Union and Bishop Garrigan. We have contacted both schools. They do not have any girls interested in wrestling. If they did, our coaches would support that sharing, but they do not. So recommend sharing with just North Iowa. Also recommend $200 per wrestler, and that they provide transportation to Algona High School. Both of those are part of the same agreement that we had last year.
Need a motion then to approve the sharing agreement.
So moved.
Thanks,
I'll
Andrea. Todd with the second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Or do we still have wrestling, is it still open class for next year? One classification?
No, girls did go to 2 classes this year, which is part of that decision we contacted those schools and would be willing if they had people interested, but not, could certainly change our classification to the small school class.
Thank you, Tom, for that question.
Are we in the big or small school class?
I'm not sure I know which one we are, but that impacts our decision here to just go with the one if there's no other. Otherwise, we'd be counting all the kids in the high schools at North Union and Bishop Garrigan.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for the sharing agreement. The next, we're going to look at a resolution to approve the continuing participation in instructional support program.
Yeah, instructional support levy, this is a resolution to keep our current level. So this is not a new levy, no increases. It's just to keep what we currently have and the current level of services to fund our ongoing programs in the district. The resolution is to extend it for 5 years, so that would be from July 1, 2026. About a year and a half away, but that's the timeline that's recommended for instructional support levy and goes through 2031. The amount of the levy is up to 10%. Districts can choose that. Ours is actually 6%, so it's 6% of our regular program district cost. Algona's had the levy, we look back since the early 90s, at 6% rather than 10. 331 of the 300 school districts in Iowa have the levy. For us, it's around about $1 million, probably about $1.1 million, and about 800,000 of that comes from income surtax, not property tax, which you also have control over the combinations of that and how you get these dollars. So in the end, this is about an 11 cent per thousand property tax. Most of it comes from an income surtax.
Okay. Questions, anyone? It's fairly what we've had in the past. And we got to look at doing it now so we can continue on for the 5 years after.
Yep.
Okay.
With this resolution,
we'll do a roll call, but we need, first of all, need a motion.
For December.
I'm sorry, what was that,
Part
Lisa?
of this resolution is setting the hearing for December 9th.
Okay.
And then you will approve it in the December meeting.
yeah,
Okay.
today approving the
this part
resolution,
isn't-
setting the hearing.
Okay.
Make a motion to set the hearing for December 9th.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thanks, Tom. We have Jay for a motion, Tom a second, to set the resolution for December 9th. This is a roll call vote, if I remember.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
Limbaugh.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Louwagie.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Owen.
Yes.
Lindsay.
Yes.
All right. Resolution approved. We'll go into the financial health analysis.
Financial health analysis, this is that Lisa prepares for us every year. There is, our board policy says that the business manager will provide some type of financial report. So this is a really good document that's put together. I'm going to kind of describe it for you. It starts with some terms, and there's 10 financial indicator or financial indicator ratios that are in this health analysis. We talk about financial indicators all the time. The two that I talk the most about our solvency ratio, which is, how much cash are you going to have, or how much cash do you have, and then also our unspent balance ratio, which isn't just cash, more like a credit limit. And we don't want those to decline. We know that if we do overspend those, we reduce those, and it duplicates each year. But there's other financial ratios as well that she defines in there. On page 6, there's a chart that I have it up on the screen. It's got some green and red. Those are all of the financial indicators. Green is good, red is bad. The far, I don't know if red's bad, red is less, is what it is. The far right column is FY24. So FY24, we are green in all of these indicators. Couple examples, the days net cash ratio, which is the third line, it was red the last 2 years. That means that we could go 98 days without any revenue before we would run out of cash. That's what that means. The recommendation is that you have 90 to 120 days to do that. Why is that important? There have been times in the state, Tom, I'm sure remember these 2009, I believe was the last one, when we have across the board cuts, thank you, in the state, and that's during the fiscal year when that happens. So you need to have money available if something like that would ever come. Our state is in a much different financial situation right now than they were at that time, but that's the recommendation, is that you have 90 to 120 days of cash. We're at 98. Solvency ratio, which is a few down from that, that's something that we talk about quite a bit. Again, how much cash do you have on hand? Our solvency ratio is 16.53%. Recommended that you're between 5 and 20. You don't want to have too much cash, because then you're not spending it on students like you should, and we're in a really good place there. Our unspent balance ratio, the last one, is high, 26.87. We know that's high. We've talked a lot about that we have a few years where that and our fund balances are going to increase, and then it'll all balance out as we deficit spend for a few years. So those are just things that we're preparing for. In your, the few pages before this, the executive summary, which is 3 total pages, that's our district financially in the last year. Everything that has happened to us or that we have in place, from tax rates to staffing, changes in staffing, how much some of those administrative costs are. You will see that if you read closely, this executive summary, parts of it show up in our audit as well, because Lisa provides the executive summary to our auditors, and it becomes part of that report. So a lot of great information here about the financial summary of our district, and then from that chart it goes into basically a chart for each of these indicators, so you can see trends and how it's changed through time. If you summarized our finances, and we've done this a few different times, we're in a really good shape financially right now in the district. We anticipate that continuing. We know we get to FY28, and we will deficit spend for that year and maybe the next year, but putting us in a place to balance out without changing our staffing.
This is really nice.
Yeah.
She's done a great job with it. It's really
A question on,
well done.
just reading through this really quickly.
Okay.
Executive summary, nutrition fund. The balance went down about $100,000 in 1 year. Are we projecting what it might be for ending of fiscal year 24? Excuse me, what it might be in 25? What are we thinking for the future on this?
Some of that was bringing in the food service management company for the first year. We did buy some equipment, really some one-time expenses to upgrade some areas of our kitchen. We do not anticipate overspending $100,000 annually in the nutrition fund.
Okay.
One-time expenses there.
All right, thank you.
Joe, this is a kind of a sideline item, and not to do with our district per se financially, but I'm curious if we know, or if you can come back and educate the boards at some point on what is going on, or what will happen with our state budget, given new policies that we have to continue to pay for with the tuition components. Do we have any updates from our legislators or anything like that on how that will be funded and if we'll be able to have a state balanced budget with those?
In regard to the educational savings accounts?
Is that, yeah, with the tuition being paid for
Should I
every
go-
student that goes to like private school?
Yep. In the certified enrollment, I talked about, we have, I think my number was 247 students who live in our district and receive an educational savings account, receive one of those. That number will go up to 300, maybe 330 next year. For each one of those, we receive $1,200. So currently, as a district, we receive more funding as a result of those than we did previously. The concern probably in the state is that we are spending more towards those ESAs per year, probably 2 to 3 times more per year than we were ever spending on increasing education prior to that. So how can we continue those?
Right. How are we gonna pay for that as a state?
Yeah. We know that the REC, the revenue estimated group in the state, we have a $6 billion shortfall in the state anticipated for this year. So that is a good question for our legislators, and I'm scheduled to meet with them here in the coming weeks and something to talk to them about for sure. Yeah.
Because it's just gonna get bigger next year, right?
Yep.
Pay for it somehow.
Yes.
I'd be curious what they thought.
Okay, any other further questions or discussion on this? So I'd like to thank Elisa for all your hard work putting that together for us.
So I do recommend the approval of the analysis.
Yep, we're gonna move forward, then we needed approval then
Yep.
with,
So moved.
thank you, Lanny, do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Todd, we have a motion and a second. Hearing no further discussions before, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Financial, health analysis approved. Storage lease agreement.
Yep, storage lease agreement. We recently received our bus barn lease from the Cassuth County Fair Association. Our lease agreement is $25,000 annually. It went up a little bit. When we reorganized with Laverne, we took more of another barn to accommodate some of those vehicles. Still, financially, this is a very good deal for us and something that meets our needs. So I do recommend the agreement with the Cassuth County Fair Association.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Brent, thanks, Jay. Any further discussion? It's a great deal for us, so.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agreement approved. Approve an additional, or approve a middle school girls wrestling.
Yeah, you remember a couple summers ago, Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union sanctioned girls wrestling. We actually had club wrestling in place in our district, but we put a high school girls program and a middle school girls program in place. We put 2 high school coaches and we put 1 middle school coach, and we really should have 2. Middle school boys team has 2. There's times when our middle school wrestlers go and wrestle, most times, or maybe every time, when we're gonna have 2 wrestlers wrestling at once, but we only have 1 coach who actually works for us. So this is a recommendation to add a middle school girls wrestling coaching position.
A motion to approve. I volunteered coach last year, and you're exactly right, it's.
Yeah, always going to happen. And it's not a numbers thing. Someone asked me that, is this because of numbers? It's not necessarily a numbers thing. If we had 5 girls, we would probably have 2 wrestling at the same time. Instead, we have 21, 22, something like that. So it's going to
Well,
happen.
I think it's really important to, just the nature of wrestling, to have a female on staff
Yep.
too.
Yep.
With this,
Sure.
so it's a no-brainer, a motion to approve.
So we had a motion by Brent, a second by Lanny?
Yep.
Was that how we had it? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Additional wrestling coach approved. Approve a one-time classified staff stipend.
During the last legislative session, there was a bill that was passed to provide an education salary support supplement intended, and it is one-time money for our support our hourly staff. We offered and approved a 4% raise for all of our staff, which certainly we had to take some of those dollars to do that, but we still haven't We didn't provide them with one-time money, and we didn't spend most of those dollars. I would propose providing a one-time $300 stipend for all of our support staff who's completed their mandatory training. That would be about $31,000, actually $33,000, $41,000 is our allocation, so another $8,000 used in their 4% raise last year, and that would spend that one-time money. I think at a time of year, where having extra dollars in your check can be beneficial around the holidays.
I love that.
It's extremely beneficial to reward our classified staff, part-time people who
Yeah.
do a lot of work around here.
And probably do some of the training out here and some on their own, even
Yeah,
to get it done,
right,
so,
right.
on their own time, so.
Yeah, that's,
I can get it
that's fine.
together by December anyway, but
That's fine.
Right now, we're just approving the one-time
You are,
stipend.
you are.
Not the
I
actual
should say
date.
when.
No.
Okay. All right, we need a motion then to approve the one-time.
So moved.
Thank you. Todd, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Jay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Stipend approved. Open enrollment.
We have 5 open enrollment applications. They are all timely filed. I recommend the approval of these applications.
Motion for,
So moved.
all right. Was Lanny's your first or second? Lanny's was first, who's the second? I didn't hear.
I didn't, who was second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Todd. We have a motion and a second now. Thank you very much for the open enrollment. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Open enrollment approved. Resignations, is it just the one?
Yeah, we have 2 resignations. Steve Young, middle school football coach, and James Rodert, middle school football coach.
Make a motion to approve the resignation. Thanks, Todd. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Thanks, Don. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Do we have a replacement?
Not yet. But they will be for suitable replacement. But
These are for suitable.
yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resignation's approved. And contract for, our new contract.
We have 2. One, Grace Herbst-Ulmer for our middle school wrestling coach that we approved, and Shane Meschke as our volunteer middle school basketball coach.
All right. Any-
Tiffany, I didn't get that on that. Can we add Tiffany?
Tiffany Dykus, yes, middle school, or Bertha Godfrey teacher associate.
Okay, so we have Tiffany Backus, elementary, right?
A motion to
Elementary associate,
approve
yeah.
Those 2 on board, as well as the addition of Tiffany.
Yes.
Thanks, Brent. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Andrea. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion, contract's approved. Just want to thank everybody for the discussion tonight. I thought it was a great discussion and great presentation, so I
Yeah.
appreciate everybody's tonight. So, motion for adjournment.
So adjourned.
I got Todd and Brent.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thanks, guys.
If you want to help, take your computer, I think they go over there on that shelf.